Did you know there's only one letter that doesn't appear in any American state? Can you guess what it is?
What has more than any other state? I'm sorry, cut out just for a
There's
second.
only one letter. There's only one letter in the American, one letter that doesn't appear in any state in America. What letter would it be?
Man, I don't know.
The answer to that riddle is Q.
Q.
Some people would say X, but Texas got it. Some would say Z because it's Arizona, but no. Q is the only letter that does not appear in any state in America.
I didn't think about that. That's a good one to keep in mind there.
I know, right? I like to drop some knowledge for the kids, as they would like to say. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Playbook Podcast. I am Prescott Kelly. Today is Thursday, January 29th. Glad to have you back with us. Today, I have Logan. Is it pronounced Caudill?
That's pretty much how Caudill, whatever.
Okay, you did pretty much. So I must have butchered it. How would you like your last name pronounced?
No, so my dad pronounces it Caudill. You hit the nail on the head. However, my mom always said Caudill. So that's, like I said, it's either or is perfectly fine. I understand both of them.
That's kind of like with me because my government name is James, but I go by my middle name. It's weird because I have there's 4 kids in my family. There's me and my 3 sisters, and all of us go by our middle name except for the oldest person. So I get Prescott, I get Prescott because that's how they pronounce the city in Arizona. So I have to remind people sometimes of how I have it pronounced. So I don't like butchering people's names. I feel like I'm an expert in nameology. So I just want to make sure I get it right the first time. I should have asked you first off stage, and that's me being a bad host.
No, like I said, you hit nail on the head. Like I said, I answered both of them.
I appreciate that. So we got Logan on, and big Tennessee Titans fan. We actually met in a Madden group this would have been 7 years ago, 8 years ago. We were doing an online franchise league.
Yeah, maybe it was that long ago. Yeah, I think you might be right. Yeah, 2018, maybe.
It's wild because I've been in this house now for almost 6 years, and we were in this league beforehand. So it had to be at least 6, maybe 7 or 8, which is wild that it's been that long.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a long time.
It's the first time you're actually being on, you jerk.
I know. And I've been through all 3 different iterations of your podcast. I mean, and it's the first time I've ever been on here.
That also speaks to me being a bad host. But Logan, so as a Titans fan, we spoke a little bit yesterday, the day beforehand, and last week about just things that have gone on with the franchise, the hiring Robert Salah as the head coach, and now Brian Daboll is the offensive coordinator there. I know your answer because we've already spoke, but for everybody else, do you like the hires of Salah and Daboll at the respective positions? Was there somebody else that you wanted from the pipeline? What was your overall take from the coaching hires at those 2 positions?
I think Salah was the best available, minus Mike McCarthy and Mike McDaniel. But we knew Mike McCarthy wasn't going to Tennessee. He was going to go to Pittsburgh. So it just left him, Mike McDaniel, and is kind of a toss-up to me. So I'm okay with Robert Salah. I think he'll be I think he did help the Jets a little bit in his tenure there. He definitely had the defense doing really good stuff, so I'm hoping that helps improve this coming year. As far as Brian Daboll goes, I'm not against it. I think he'll do good. I think he'll end up making.
You sounded pretty pro for it yesterday.
Well, here's my argument. I guess is that I know your thoughts is that he has definitely got too much credit for Josh Allen, but he don't get credit for even if it's only for 2 or 3 games. Like he did help. He had to have helped Jack Dart a little bit. Jack Dart was coming in. He was, second round. No one, probably wasn't going to be a starter and then he ended up starting and winning his first start. I think is that what it was, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, I think that speaks to Dayball a little bit. Now, I'm not saying he's perfect, but I'm saying that he has a little bit of something there to help bring something out of Cam Ward. That's what I'm hoping for at least. And Cam Ward's got this raw talent, and if Brian Dayball's there to help mold it, mind it just a little bit, I think he'll be okay. So I'm content with it. I think the future's looking up for Titans. I do.
I'm glad that you kind of scaled back your expectations initially, because I know when I do word association with Brian Dable, I feel like he gets entirely too much credit for basically everything he's ever done. Um,
Fair.
I know that I've been very. The thing is, like with my Josh Allen analysis, it still boggles my mind that people who've been following this page or this podcast or whatever for the longest time still don't understand how I get to where I get. I feel like he was too harshly criticized his first 2 years because that offense was garbage, and they're not recognizing his flaws now. And that's the frustration for me. When it comes to Dable, just because you happen to be the coach at that moment where things turned around does not, and he wasn't the head coach, but just because you were there when the turnaround happened does not mean that you were solely responsible for it. And I think that that's the frustration that I have as well, is like when it comes down to coaching trees, we see like the Saban and Belichick trees get so much leeway, and Dable falls under that category, which that lands him a head coaching job. And if he was that good at head coaching, he would have got a head coaching job, not an offensive coordinator job. And I've seen him in press conferences. I've seen him rip players out of blue tents. There's a reason why I feel like he may not ever get another head coaching job again. And we talked about this yesterday. I believe that he is, if he gets to be the sole proprietor of what happens with Cam Ward, he's going to put that man in early retirement, because we know how athletic he is. We know that he's young under a rookie contract. And I believe fully that that man would do anything to save his own skin. No, man, Cam was hurt. Yeah, because you let him die out there.
I can see your point, and I think it's fair. I think it will. I think Dable has a fascination with Cam Ward, and I think he also has a little bit of love for Will Levis. So I think depending on if we end up shopping Will Levis, I don't know if that would be the case if he goes in there and rips Cam Ward out of blue tent this year. If we keep Will Levis, that is. Which again, I know Levis is going to be savior of the franchise, but
you want to move on from Will Levis immediately, don't you? There's no. Would you rather?
It makes more sense.
Or would you rather just move him?
I mean, I personally like the kid. I think he got dealt a really bad hand. I think that I think him and Cam Ward made a lot of similar plays, especially earlier in Cam Ward's first season. You know, the first like 6-7 starts, they made very similar plays, but Cam Ward's all went right. And that's not a knock toward Will Levis or Cam Ward. It's just that like Will Levis, it was just the worst possible scenario, and Cam Ward was the best possible scenario. And it's just I think he got dealt a really bad hand his first full year starting solo, and it didn't end well. So I would love to have him back up personally, but I don't think he's a savior of a franchise or nothing like that. I think that he would. I think he's a good, Joe Flacco, maybe like current Joe Flacco, game manager type. He'll move the ball a little bit for you, maybe 120, 150. He might go a touchdown, maybe 2 picks, but he'll be a good game manager for you, but not more than that. So if we could get a third for him, I'm stoked for it. But I mean, if no one wants to give us at least a fourth, I think we just keep him one more year, see what happens.
I think the most likely scenario is that nobody trades for him, and once he becomes a free agent, he gets picked up by somebody else, because there's always going to be the coach or the offensive coordinator that has the thought process of, I can fix him, right? Like he's the unemployed boyfriend. I can fix him. And so nobody maybe trade for him in a third rounder, because he went in the second round, right? He was a second round pick, right?
He was, yeah.
So getting a third for a backup quarterback, I think might be a stretch. But again, if somebody sees the value in him, maybe that happens. But I also am very glad that you said what you just said about Cam Ward in relation to Will Levis was they made similar plays, but had very different outcomes. And that's the way that I look at Josh Allen, is that there's so many interceptable passes. There's so many fumbles that are on the ground that don't go against him, where people don't see that it's still an issue, but every postseason it ends up biting Buffalo and him in the ass. And it's just, I'm just glad somebody else had the same person. But I know it's Josh Allen versus Tennessee, but it's the same thought process. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, though.
Yeah, because I mean, it's just, I mean, you're right. Like it's what would you call that? Would it be playoff Josh versus regular season Josh, or in your case at least, right?
Right. It is this. He is so Jekyll and Hyde. It's ridiculous. I mean, because the thing is, like, the numbers are great. The numbers are still crazy when you look at Josh Allen's playoff performances. The numbers are still crazy, and that's why you find the way to defend him. But the outlandish, cartoonish turnovers are still there, and I think that that's what frustrates me that nobody sees that or recognizes it until their season's over, and then it gets painted with such a broad brush when you should have been looking at the entire time, but we get blinded by the fact that he is basically the second coming of Brett Favre, because this NFL is so boring to watch. It's 40 attempts, but 30 of them are under 6 yards a time, right? And he doesn't do that. He runs, he's big, he's fast, he's strong. He reminds us of a better time of football, but there's no accolades besides the MVP that you could argue he shouldn't have gotten last year, but should have gotten the year beforehand. Again, the numbers wash out. It is what it is. But to get back to the Titans, instead of making this a Bills thing, do you because I personally, I like Tennessee's defense. I feel like they are very much starved of offensive productivity and playmakers. So maybe the Brian Daboll hire is the reason why they went this route, right? You get Salah, because I feel like Salah got a bad rap as a head coach in New York. We know he can coach the defense. I feel like he's going to be the primary play caller of defense plus the leader of men. And if Daboll only has to like really focus on offense, maybe they address that in the draft. And that division isn't bananas by any stretch of the imagination. I feel like they might be able to be a wild card team. This year might be a little bit of a stretch, but with injuries and how well you nail the draft, I think it's possible. But if they go wide receiver, I think if they go wide receiver in the first round, offensive line second, tight end third, I think that offense could be at least formidable. What's kind of your direction that you would like them to go in the draft and free agency and things like that for this upcoming year?
So I find it funny that you went wide receiver. Was it edge second and then tight end third?
I said offensive. I said offensive line second. Yeah,
offensive lineman. Okay, my bad. I think the exact opposite. I don't know if we really need tight end or not, because we have. I really do believe Gunnar Helm's a really good tight end. Will be a really good tight end. He showed flashes, and he was number 2. So I'm hoping he turns out to be really good. And I think that Ochigo Okonkwo, he'll be if we end up re-signing him, that's the question to be had there.
I forgot about him.
He's a really good, solid pass catcher. Yeah, that there. I mean, as long as we re-sign him, that's the only thing. It's contract year. If it'll come out in the wash, I guess. But I personally think we should go tackle first. That's not a sexy pick or nothing, but I think getting how you pronounce his name, Maugoa from Miami. I think he would be a beast.
If you ask me what I feel like about college prospects, I will tell you one thing. I know absolutely nothing about college football because I don't watch it. I know the positions because I watch the NFL, I know the positions that people need. So I don't know who's good coming off the board. Right. So you might be right. But so do you think that, because we talked about Cam Warden's elusiveness, do you think that they bypass the offensive line this year because he is still young and is still athletic? Do you think that they bypass that this year and try to get the skill position guys? Or, because I'm kind of with you, I would prefer to have an offensive line. So I want my rookie, now second-year quarterback, to have more time to be able to process things. But do you think that they're going to get offensive linemen to help give him more time? Or do you bypass that, get the skill position guys, and just get and then down the line, you address the offensive line and make it more cohesive, as opposed to having the top?
I think it'll depend on
top guy.
Right. I think it depends on what they do with the free agency. Honestly, I think with me looking at it, and I'm not some big sports analyst or nothing like that, but looking at the free agency this year, it looks like there's more wide receiver depth, more edge depth this year than there is offensive linemen. There's a couple guards we could use, but we really need left side tackle is what we really need, and there's no good tackles this year in free agency. So I would, in a perfect world, I would say that we would go tackle, but knowing it's my team and it's the damn Tennessee Titans, we'll probably go something like strong safety, pick 4, and we're like, we don't what? I mean, we'll take it, but damn,
because you think he's Jamal Adams.
right, yeah. Oh, he ran a 4.3. We gotta get him. Like, okay, if you say so, Yeah,
I do think
I'd say that's probably more. Go ahead.
The free agency part makes a whole lot of sense because you do all. I think that matters because Tennessee does have quite a bit of. They got quite a bit of cap space too, right? Like I know New England has a bunch, but Tennessee has. They're in that top 4 or 5
we have
as
the
far
most in the league right now.
Oh, do you? I thought New England had the most.
Yep,
Tennessee has the most money.
We have 100 million. I think they have 94 or something. They're right behind us. They're second place.
So they're both right at that 100 threshold, basically.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. You make up a great point because I haven't looked at the free agency class so far, but given what you need and what's available, if you're going to over and because so I put this in perspective of like when the Jaguars paid Christian Kirk just an obscene amount of money a few years ago. I said, one, it looks bad because it kind of resets the market. But if you believe that much in Trevor Lawrence, you have to find a way to attract the free agents because Jacksonville, the franchise, is not that desirable of a landing spot, kind of like Buffalo is as well. So sometimes you have to overpay to see we're willing to do these types of things. And Tennessee, I think that if they're able to get 1 or 2 top guys in the free agency market and then draft a stud at wherever best player available at that pick between the division and Cam Ward, and if you can nail 1 wide receiver, 1 edge rusher, maybe you overpay for them and it looks stupid on paper up front, but that could be a long-term game-changing thing for the franchise.
Oh yeah, I think especially to get someone like, and I'm not saying we go out and get this guy, but like if Jenkins doesn't re-sign with Dallas, I think that'd be a great one to sign to a 4 or 5 year deal. He's 25 this year. I think he's still got 5 years left at least.
Oh, sorry, you cut out a bit. Did you say George Pickens?
I did say George Pickens. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Yeah. So like if he don't re-sign with Dallas, I think he'd be great. I think keeping him or sign him to 4 or 5 years, I think he'd still be serviceable at 30 years old. Because I think he's only 25, right? Am I crazy?
I know that he's not very old because he got drafted a few years ago. I don't know what age he got drafted. I'm assuming it's either 21 or 22. So he might be 25, even regardless of what we think he might be at the very tops, he's 26. And I think you're right. I think that the 30-year mark for me is weird because people put that as like the death sentence for football players. And I feel like we need to move that benchmark nowadays just because these guys are so ridiculous. The rules have changed, obviously, things like that. We don't have to go down that rabbit hole. But I think that 30 needs to be moved as the benchmark for this is the end of your career. But I'm with you. I think that Pickens, because he's super crazy talented, he's just also obnoxious. But welcome to being a starting wide receiver in the NFL. That is not a new storyline.
No, I mean, we got you got the Antonio Browns of the world that were, doing it long beforehand, So, I mean, it just makes sense that, you might be a little bit cocky if you're, good at your job, and do I necessarily agree with it? No, but I think some level of ego is needed for those positions. So bring that in there and him, thinking that his shit don't stink in it. Like, I think he'd be all right. I really do.
That's the thing for me too, is every corner and every wide receiver thinks that they're the best at what they do, right? Because you have to think that. Like we can see on film, no, you're not. But you have to have some level of audacity and just, I'm the best player here. You have to have it. But
Yeah,
I think what the thing that you can't have is this, like the other mental stuff that these guys sometimes bring. Because like we don't see Nakua do this, we don't see Jackson Smith and Jigba do this. You can make a big play, but then automatically do something immediately. Well, actually, Smith and Jigba does do some wild stuff as far as celebrations are concerned. But
yeah.
largely, if you're a top flight guy, are you gonna do something stupid that is going to cost yourself the 15 yards after you made the catch? And George Pickens is the guy. He's the leading. He is in pole position to do that as a wide receiver. So you get the top end talent, but you get all the Neanderthal theatrics that go along with him as well.
I think personally, I'm doing this for any Titans fan that will possibly listen to this. I prefer that over AJ Brown because for some reason
Really?
I cannot stand that. I cannot stand that guy anymore. He showed us true. He was showing it when he left.
Guys, though, like that's maybe
He
there's some
did.
personal stuff.
No, so when he left, it was, I tried to believe him when he went on that podcast. He said, he wanted to stay here, but then the more I thought about it, the more I watched him in Philly. I said, "There's no way." He's just trying to spin this narrative like he did the Jalen Hurts narrative a year ago, and how he's probably going to try to spin it this year. So yeah, I don't. If I had my way, I don't think I want AJ Brown back. He's a great wide receiver. I don't want to knock the guy. Great wide receiver, but he's, especially because George Pickens don't have as many. AJ Brown had surgery on both knees his first year as a Titan, so knowing
Oh,
that
did he really?
he did. Yes, he posted. I don't know if it was surgery. I know he was in the hospital. He posted pictures of himself that had surgery. So I'm assuming I don't know what it was, but some kind of surgery on his knees after the season. That was the year we played. That's the year we went all the way to the AFC Championship game. Actually, yeah.
That was the Tannehill. That was the Tannehill year.
That was a Tannehill.
Wasn't it the same year
AFC
that
Championship? We was, I think, 14 away from going to the Super Bowl again. About
that was the year that Derrick Henry ran for 2,000 yards, wasn't it?
That was the year before. The year after he ran 2,000. But yeah, but he led the league still. That was the year everybody kept saying, "Oh, Derrick Henry might be the next Ezekiel Elliott."
So
Ezekiel Elliott was the big running back at the time.
Yeah, I do want to. Okay, so I want to ask you this though: if you viewed Derrick Henry's career the way that I do, because I know that the Baltimore years and then the last, I would say, 3 or 4 years in Tennessee, like he's been ridiculous. He's been an absolute monster. He's carried the ball infinity billion times throughout his entire career from high school to now. But the way that I remember the timeline is that when he first got in the NFL, like his first 2, I would say middle of his 3rd year, that people were calling him a bust. Do you remember that time? Because I do.
I think he's a second round running back, and we still had that really decent player. I can't remember his name. Oh shit.
Are you being Ray Rice, but you're not going to say his name?
No, that's it. No, I can't remember what his name was, but he was a really good running back, or decent. He was like top 10 that year, and then he was getting older. Yeah, I remember everybody like, he's just a backup, blah blah. Alabama don't make running backs, they make quarterbacks or something like that. Yeah, damn, that's
which is ridiculous. Alabama doesn't make quarterbacks. They make quarterbacks who win championships, but they don't make quarterbacks.
No. Only one in the last 6 years won Super Bowl, and that's Jalen Hurts, right? Am I crazy? Am I getting that right?
No, I think you're right. But even beforehand, that's what always. Ooh, and I want to get your okay. I do have to get ready to prep for the next show within about the next 15, 20 minutes or so. But I do want to get your opinion on this because this has always blown my mind. And I'm tired of people pretending like I wasn't years and years and years and years ahead of this. So Alabama used to get that recognition, right? Of we produce great quarterbacks. No, you don't. You have a team that the only reason why people want to go play to Alabama or play for Alabama, it's not for living conditions. It's not because of rate of pay, quote unquote. It's because it's a factory for getting you to the league. If there's no other reason to go to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, except for I want to play pro football, so I'm going to go there first and someplace else. And NIL to me, as wonky as it is, and it can be wonky, right? It can be an unperfect system, but I feel like it has absolutely made the evolution of college football better because you're not just getting Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State aren't, they're still getting the top guys, don't get me wrong. But what they're doing is these other programs are poaching one kid at least that would go there to stay home or go someplace else because they have money. And it's kind of leveling the playing field. And I think that NIL is a great thing. I think it's flawed, but I love that now I feel like we're getting a more accurate representation of how good these college kids are as opposed to just everyone getting funneled to 5 schools.
Yeah, no, I agree with your statements. I mean, I have no. It's a flawed system. Would I be paying kids $5 million when they're 19, 20 years old? No, but um, it's. I think it's the better alternative than just literally wrecking their bodies for nothing. You know, I'm sure the school would pay for when they got hurt, but it's still not. It's still not a. If you get hurt in college, like you're not making money anyway. You can't go to your second job. Now at least you're making something to offset that. So I mean, I do agree with that, and I think I think I agree. Yeah, I mean, we had Miami and Indiana in the championship game. Like that's unheard of. I hadn't heard before.
I don't like being the hyperbolic person, but that actually might be the greatest turnaround in sports history. It's pretty bananas what they did there.
For sure. Indiana miles and away 180.
So now, I'm proud of that. Chat. Niles in chat says Alabama was never known as a producer of quarterbacks, and that's what we kind of said is like it's not they're the factory of football players up until NIL, but not really producing quarterbacks. And he says outside of like Mac Jones to and Namath. Well, I mean the thing is like I don't believe that Mac Jones is very good. I don't believe that Tua is very good, and I know it's a completely different era, but I do think that Namath is one of the most overrated quarterbacks in NFL history. That's just me, though. But to wrap up the Titans talk, what going into the season, what was kind of your expectation? And now that you've seen Cam Ward and now you have your new coaching hires, what is your expectation going into the 2026-27 season?
So for a long time, I didn't drink the Kool-Aid. I kept saying we're going to win about 6 games, 7 games. And then my friends ended up convincing me to drink the Kool-Aid this past year. And I said, yeah, you're right. We're going Super Bowl. Super Bowl bus, baby. I knew we would. I believed. Yeah. Tramp stamp.
That's some Bill behavior.
yeah. But this next year, I think realistically, I think Salah will, if we kept like Mike McCoy or, any other head coach we could have got, I think we'd have been 6 wins, 7 wins. I think Salah makes that 8 wins this next year, which is improvement. I'll take that.
That's a pretty
I've
big
always
jump.
known that this is going to be a multi-year process. Very big jump. I'll take 8 wins this year. We're not going to pull Patriots. Everybody wants us to. We're not. Too many holes we got to fill up. So I think the next year, 2027, when we open up that new stadium, I think that they're going to make a real hard push to try to at least go deep in the playoffs, if not go to the Super Bowl. Try to now win. I have no idea, but I know they're going to make a hard push 2027 probably to go all the way. Try.
Yeah, some of these projects are going to be just that, right? They're going to be projects. Mm-hmm. There are certain things like when you see really quick turnarounds, sometimes you see like you can understand why they happened. That's not usually the case, but you're like once it's all said and done and you have all the data in front of you,
right?
You can say, I could see that. If Tennessee goes from this to Super Bowl appearance, I am not going to understand that at all. And that's not a thing at Titans fans. I just that would be it would be second place to Indiana.
Yeah. No, listen, I think fans are to lose. There's some fans that are thinking that Robert Saleh's going to come in here and we're going to win 15 games this next year with a first round bye. We're going to cruise. I don't think we're going to do none of that. I think Cam Ward is good, and I think Cam Ward could get those kinds of wins. with the right cast, but he don't have the right cast right now. I think that he needs one speedy slot receiver if he wants to throw the deep balls like he used to in Miami, and I think he needs a really sure-handed outside receiver for those short yard, third and four, third and six type situations that will always catch the ball for him,
those
regardless of.
red zone fades.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, until we get, we probably really realistically need two really good. We need to hit two really good wide receivers in a draft, which I know we won't. But
You know what you
that
need
what
is
we need.
Derrick Henry.
That you know what we need someone like Derrick Henry. You're right. I miss Derrick Henry.
Because Tony Pollard is still there, right?
Yeah.
I like Tony Pollard. I think he's a good back.
He's a good back. I don't think that I think Tennessee is known for either power backs, Eddie George, Derrick Henry, or super fast ones, Chris Johnson. And Tony Pollard's neither. And that's not knock toward Tony Pollard, but he's not necessarily a power back. He's not necessarily a quick, elusive back. He's just a decent running back,
That's super weird. I never really thought of it that way, but that kind of has been their brand, is that it's usually one extreme or the other, because George was the power back. Chris Johnson was just the shiftiest man on planet Earth. It felt like, besides Dante Hall. Like in that time frame, it was Chris Johnson, Dante Hall, and name one or two other guys. But
right.
Yeah, well, the Lindell Johnson, the Lindell White thing was weird because they had the whole thunder and lightning thing. But again, they paired one guy who was the manhandler,
third down back,
and the other guy, the whole thunder and lightning, Sonic and Knuckles, however you want to do it. That's weird. I've never really thought about it. They are very much a one back or another kind of feel.
Oh yeah, and Tony Pollard is and like I said, there's nothing against that. It's just Tony Pollard is definitely, a running back. He's not exactly, he's not going to stiff arm somebody like Derrick Henry will, or break 10 tackles like Derrick Henry would. But he's also not going to run, 80 yards to the house running, 28 miles an hour or something like Chris Johnson would have. He's just not that guy. But I mean, he's good for what he does. He would be a backup, or for someone that doesn't have that kind of identity. I'm kind of leaning toward getting someone like Breece Hall. I think that'd be a really nice pickup in free agency. Get rid of Tony Pollard. But
Breece Hall, I think, would be really crazy there. And it's weird because I always get frustrated with. I want to move on to one more thing before we wrap it up, but does there's nothing that I really frustrates me more than what could have happened after the fact. Like once the trade deadline's done, it's like, oh, well, this team almost got this person. So, well, how much truth is there to that? Because the Bills were supposed to go and get Breece Hall. There was like 9 other teams that were rumored to go get Breece Hall, or not Elijah Wilson, the guy, the wide receiver for the Jets. His name is eluding me.
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson, there is. Thank you.
Yep.
But it's all after the fact. Like, all you had to give up was that. Then why didn't you do it? Right? Like, that's what frustrates me, is that if that's all it took, you're a dummy as a GM or whoever's in charge of player operations to not do that. Which is why I think that most of it is falsehood. But I think the Breece Hall would be great in Tennessee. I think he's a good change, not even change of pace back. He's a good overall running back that you guys need. But the one thing I want to touch on before we head out is when it comes to Mike Vrabel being in the Super Bowl now, what are your I want to know your instinct. Tell me your instinct gut feelings. And now that there's been a couple days, what's your actual response to him being in the Super Bowl after being your head coach not too long ago?
There's some things I can't say,
but not safe for work.
NSFW, buddy. Yeah, not safe for work now. When I first saw it, I was like, yeah, that really could have been us, and it's all because of our owner. She got butthurt because he went to the Patriots and got inducted to the Ring of Fire, Honor, or whatever they call it up there. And she got butthurt over it.
like
Yeah.
Johnny Cash.
Yeah, exactly. And she's like, "What? Why are you doing this?" She got butt hurt, so she fired him real quick. We never wanted him gone. Some people might have, but the majority didn't want him gone. And we, I'm okay with him winning Super Bowl. I personally wish it wasn't with New England. It wasn't for us. I wish it wasn't with New England
Dude,
because of
there's so many
recency
people
bias. You know what I mean?
mean?
Anybody, yeah. If he went to like, and you know, forgive me, Titans fans, but even if he went to like Indiana, right? If he went to Indianapolis and coached them to Super Bowl, I'd be like, okay, you know, that hadn't happened since like 2009. That's fair. But the Patriots literally just went 2018.
It's been 7 years and they're already back.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I'm not a fan of that.
Works at this time.
I'm telling you, dude, they're just don't understand it. But
luckily,
you know, I'll be happy for him. He's a good guy.
About it. Yeah, luckily those fans are being super humble about it, though.
You're telling me, dude. Golly. Hey, at least went Philadelphia going over and like flipping over cars again. Am I right? Burning down their city because they won another Super Bowl.
It's so funny to me how much property damage is done by a celebration. And Philly has to be they have to be the league leader in property damage after championships. It has to be Philly.
They have to be. They had to in LA. Like, I mean, that's normal. It's a normal Sunday. Okay. Like, oh, you guys are out. Okay, cool. That, you know, that was last Thursday, but whatever. But like, yeah, Philadelphia, they have to. Philadelphia, it's gotta be like a whole new, like, you know, they're like, oh, well, we want a Super Bowl. Let's all get our riot shields out and watch them burn down the city real quick. We'll rebuild again. Just want to burn it down next year, or maybe
it's an act of kindness and happiness, guys. You don't understand it.
Yeah. You don't understand. Gosh, the building was old anyway.
the year that because the Raptors won their championship and they won it in California, I believe, right?
I think so.
I think it was in that state. And I remember making a post that like they're so conscientious that they would clean up the parade there. That's how Canada gets down.
They're there with the here. I'll get in the street sweeper. No big deal.
No big deal. It's up. Oh, do you need some help, here to help.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
So sorry.
I didn't want this. I'm so sorry.
I don't know what you're talking about, but we'll help you.
Yeah. Gosh.
Anyway,
where's Chris Jericho when you need him?
Where's what?
Chris Jericho when you need him.
Oh, don't you do that, good sir. Unnecessary. Well, I'll tell you what, we're gonna have to unfortunately hang it up for the day. Man, Logan, I appreciate you being on, talking some Titans football with me. And
of course,
this is the first time, but it won't be the last time. I can assure you that.
That's awesome. Can't wait to come back, brother. Thank you for having me on.
Sure. Absolutely, man. I always appreciate your time and the talks off stage, but it was good to actually see you in person and do it this way as well. You guys know the drill. You can find the podcast wherever you get your podcast for free. Don't be stingy with the 5-star reviews. Like, share, subscribe. And we're going to have Logan on sooner than later. You guys know the drill. Stay up. Stay blessed. I'll catch you guys on the next one.